Greg, you said that, treasuries and bonds were always going to be a staple, but if we know it's BS, why do you believe that they're still going to play such an essential role
Well,
in,
it won't turn off. It won't turn off overnight. And secondly,
okay.
as long as people continue to accept newly printed money as payment for their old money, the
Gotcha.
system continues. So I like to
Gotcha.
say that the printing quantitative easing infinity is the error term that solves the debt spiral. Like the debt spiral can go forever as long as people accept their debasing currency as payment for the maturing debt. Okay. And by the way, James is totally right. But when you're running an 8% annual fiscal deficit, 8% of GDP is being added each year because that's the fiscal deficit because you're not bringing in enough revenues. Not only are those old bonds being refinanced with new bonds, 8% is being added to the deficit because the government has more expenditures than it has revenues annually. So that means the debt itself will just, without compound interest, will double in less than 8 years. Okay? Or 10 years rather, 8% in 10 years. So look, fiat printing is the error term that solves the debt spiral. But it's always been the error term that solves the debt spiral. That is how fiat Ponzi economics works. And it works for a long time in countries like the USA, but in countries like Venezuela, people eventually go, no more or no mas. No. I don't accept it anymore. And I throw the currency to the corner because it's not worth anything, to the curb.
Nico, bring up the usdebtclock.org.
Oh, you got it.
And scroll down to the bottom. This is the part that Greg likes the best. Greg, you want to talk through this one?
Sure. I mean, we're almost at the end of the podcast, but it's a good place to end. So usdebtclock.org. Okay. Pull it up, Nico.
Yep. I'm working on it. There we go. Boom.
So it's delayed on my screen a second. Okay. So you see the top right hand or the top left-hand side, that's your total national debt right there. 32 trillion, right? 32.5 trillion. It was just 32 trillion. We've put on $500 billion in, a couple of months here.
A couple of weeks. Yeah.
Okay. So that's 32 trillion. It will be 50 trillion by the year 2033, by the way. Okay. So that's only mathematics. But here's the cool thing. Go down to the bottom right-hand corner, Nico. Okay. Now expand that. That US unfunded liabilities. That's the real number, people. $192 trillion that people are counting on for Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And they may get it, but the only way they're getting it, I hate to tell you people, is they're going to have to print it, which means the value of each dollar is going to continue to debase.
We'll get it, but Gen X will get it, but it's not going to be worth anything. Yeah.
And it's not, they may not get it because sometime the money printer may break or the world will not take that money anymore. But let's assume it does. Fiat debasement is 100% certain. So let's not complicate things. If you know something is 100% certain, how do you protect against it? You own hard assets. So real estate, gold, oil, commodities, we mentioned that. But what's the best one? It's called Bitcoin. It's 6 p.m. Eastern Canadian time right now. I need to run to a dinner. I'll let James summarize the simplicity of grade 11 math for you, but I think you get the picture. This is the simplest trade or investment I've ever seen in my life. And if you own zero, go become an actor, work on some stupid fucking show, and then go on CNBC and look like a total retread when they say, I only had to read 20 pages of the Fiat Standard to understand why Bitcoin matters. And that fucking loser, well, it's called scarcity. And scarcity, he doesn't even understand the difference between Bitcoin and crypto, okay? Ben McKenzie, learn fucking mathematics, okay? Peace and love from Canada. I got to run. Thanks,
Love
guys.
it, buddy. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. James,
Yeah, that's the,
you want to add to that before we wrap it up?
I'm just gonna summarize it. The only wrong allocation to Bitcoin is zero. You know, I can't tell you how much you should have because everybody's different. Every single person's portfolio, personal situation, income, needs for cash is different. It's a volatile asset, but you should have more than 0%. That's it. Period.
Amen. I think it's I think that's conservative. For my generation, I'm, it's for me,
Yeah,
it's
you're young. You could have,
yeah,
5, 10, 20% and still make that up later. It all depends on your risk profile, your risk appetite, and what you feel comfortable with. If you're my age, and it just depends on what your needs are, whether
yeah,
you've got high cost of living, whether you've got kids you have to pay for, whatever. So,
yeah.
but
Makes
yeah,
sense.
I love Greg. He's super colorful, but the point, his points are rock solid and spot on, and that's the important part.